Hi, this is Dead Gamer with video response to Vince Venturella's topic of the week, conversions. Um, Sorry, I'm a little tired. Worked all weekend, and this is definitely another one of those topic of the weeks I wanted to make a comment video on. Look at you getting me to do multiple two responses in 2 weeks. Wow, it's amazing. No, so conversions are huge for me, mainly because it personalizes the models. I know that some people, you touched on a lot of things. I'll probably not go over half of them, but a lot of people I'm sure are afraid, or they just don't want to mess up that expensive model, or even inexpensive models just don't want to mess it up. And maybe it's because they don't have the confidence in themselves to do that. I'm kind of the same way, but regarding painting. I don't really want to paint anything because I'm a perfectionist. So I just, if I can't do it right, like 100% right, I shy away from doing it. And I don't know, I'm not saying that my conversions are 100% right. They're just something about modifying a model. Who's to say it isn't right? If you do something and it wasn't your 100% intent, someone else is going to look at it and go, well, that's pretty badass, and you just be like in your mind, well, I could have used this and that, but they're impressed because it doesn't look like the cookie cutter plastic kit that they are aware of, So conversions have always been something I've been huge into. It often slows me down too. Again, not that I paint really often, at least anymore, because of work and stuff like that. But I do like to chop up figures, and I have tons of those Plano tackle boxes, like tons, and they're all labeled different armies and different boxed sets. Sometimes I can get only one boxed set worth of stuff, like the Flagellants. They were so many bits in that kit, it only fit in one of those Plano cases. And other ones like the older school Empire stuff. You mentioned the Mordheim kit. That kind of fills a whole Plano box too, because there were so many weapon options with that Mordheim kit. Empire Militia, I believe they're called. But yeah, so just to kind of, this is a pretty crazy topic because, you did touch on it. I've got a little cheat sheet here that I'm looking at, so it'll help me out a little bit from rambling, because I ramble a lot, and these videos are still very uncomfortable to make. So, but I'm doing it because I'm going to try. I really am. I don't care if anyone watches it except you, because they're a video response to your thing. But I'm glad other people are watching it, maybe, if you guys are happy to watch it. I know most people, at least when I just throw on YouTube, I'll just put play and let it just kind of do its thing. And I rarely skip videos. So maybe I'll skip this because I'm slow and I'm usually drinking. And I'm not drinking tonight because I have to be up in like 6 hours. But it's Sunday night, and I really, really wanted to get this video done because it was on my mind all weekend. Well, not all weekend, since Saturday evening when I saw Vince's video in the first place. But conversions. So let's start from the beginning. Started off with Tyranids. Were probably my first hack. Get it? Hack at wow, doing conversions. It was kind of neat to just have, well, originally the Tyranid models, you got the from Tyranid Attack, it was just a sprue, and you could either do where's my hand? There's my hand. You could either do a Tyranid warrior with bone swords or a Tyranid warrior with a death spitter. Or if you put them both on, that was the Hive Tyrant. So there was one cover of, I believe it was like White Dwarf 160 something. I have all my White Dwarfs. But it's got a Tyranid on. It's actually the cover of the box, the Tyranid attack, and he's kind of in this weird pose. And I actually took one of those plastic models and did my best. I gotta find that. It's somewhere. I still have it, but modeled them all up, so he's got a sword hanging. It's pretty cool. At the time it was anyway, and all my buddies loved it. They were like, dude, that's the coolest thing ever. And I think it was the encouragement at first from other people. A lot of my friends didn't chop up their stuff, and they were always impressed with what I did, and I guess that kind of support helped make it a comfortable thing for me, where I didn't really second guess it or question it. I just started doing it because the more things I converted and the more times my friends came over, it would just be positive responses from all those models. They would be like, wow, that stuff's awesome, and it would get me to just be like, cool, and then I'd feel good about doing what I did, even though I wasn't 100% happy with it. But I was younger then too. I didn't have all the mental damage from years of no. So yeah, I think the support from my friends and the them really enjoying everything I did, because they weren't doing it, maybe because they were feeling awkward about it or whatever. But really just kind of started with that, and then Tyranid started getting extra figures. It wasn't any longer just the plastic kit, the Screamer Killer, and the Gene Stealers. It was, I don't remember what they did. I think they redid the Termagants, the Hunter Slayers and the Termagants. I talked about all this in my last Gray Baby. She's back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Gray Baby made her debut in my last topic of the week video, the one about your favorite model kit. So, yeah, good old Gray Baby. Anyhow, I'm trying to stay focused, because the last video I wasn't very focused. I watched it and I hated it. Well, I didn't hate it, but perfectionist. So, oh God, I need to shave. Yeah. Damn it, Gray Baby. You totally threw me off. Yeah. Yeah, just sit there and clean yourself and look pretty. Jesus. Where the hell was I going? Oh, Gene's Tyranids. There it is. Back on topic. So the whole Hive Fleet thing and the way the second edition codex talked about it, and there was they did this was before the second edition codex, but in the original 40K, not Rogue Trader, the second edition, in one of the White Dwarfs, they did a orc hybrid army where Gene Stealers infected a warband of orcs, and they were spitting out orc hybrids, which now, because of the orc storyline, I guess they're now spores. I don't know how they were born before. Or maybe you could have a Gene Stealer spore growing under a moldy rock. I don't know. I don't think Gene Stealer DNA works the same as plant DNA, because orcs are apparently plants. But, yeah, that's weird. But, so I did a Gene Stealer orc warband, just sort of a small little side warband with the old second edition plastic Goth orcs, and then the hybrids from the Deathwing from Space Hulk. Space Hulk had 2 expansions. There was Deathwing and Gene Stealer, and they came with hybrids. Well, they were like really fat hybrid models that looked nothing like the awesome metal hybrid models. And I used those, and I painted them kind of in the orky purple. They had like liver spots, It was weird. They were like purple Genestealer hybrids with green liver spots. And that was the orkiness coming through, I guess. I was a little kid and I was an awful painter. But still probably am. See? There's that pessimism. But anyway, so I started making this Orc Genestealer warband. And then Brood Brothers. That was the humans that were infected by the Genestealers. That started the Secret Society. I started doing cool Brood Brother conversions from the old Imperial Guard kits where they all were wearing like sunglass kind of things. 32 miniatures in a box back in the awesome cheap days. Got a ton of those things. And then getting a little more modern. Not really, because that was in the 90s, but when 40K kind of hit its peak, when all the second edition codexes were out, and then Necromunda came out, they did I think it was Delaque, Delaque or something. We always called it Delaque, but there were all these bald-headed, round sunglass dudes that made perfect hybrids. They were all wearing trench coats. So then I turned a ton of those into Genestealer hybrids, or cultists, depending on how I wanted to do it. And so I guess the whole interest in that group of like how Genestealers have been my biggest thing. I mean, Genestealers, huge fan of the Alien movies. And then when I got Space Hulk, it was over. I mean, Genestealers and then the 2 expansions. I mean, it was just like, this was the coolest thing on the planet, you know. It's like when you first have a candy bar as a kid, I guess. You just, sugar, yeah. But yeah, Genestealers have just been, and that was just kind of gave me the reason, and then my buddies gave me the encouragement. Then later on in time, I started doing, I'm looking at the time right now, I'm all self-conscious. The last video was 18 minutes, that's pretty long. But hopefully I'm not too boring. So then after I got out of Genestealer Cult a little bit, because the Tyranids had their full-fledged codex, and was kind of interested in more orc stuff. Did some snake bites and Ludas. Then Gorka Morka came out. Did a ton of conversions for that, which was awesome because you could take those little trucks that they sold and just turn them into all kinds of crazy stuff. And the neat thing too is in the rule book of Gorka Morka, the studio staff, they all did their own stuff. I mean, they made their model kits out of all kinds of things, and they had pieces of Citadel miniatures on a lot of those things, but a lot of it was just scratch made using toy tires. You know, they weren't really like, well, our games have to be 100% of our product, and you know, they weren't like they got, which is what they kind of became, which actually disenchanted me from the whole thing. But now it seems to be better, but who knows? Conspiracy. They're doing something behind the scenes. So, yeah, Gorka Morka, chopping up a bunch of that stuff. And then also, I know that you've touched on the excitement of the new White Dwarf coming out. And, you know, how everyone's kind of hoping that it's going to go back to the way it used to be. Because those articles were really encouraging and neat. You know, it used to have the heavy metal pages where it would show not only the studio staff, but the game designers' miniatures. Pretty much anyone that had any kind of contact with GW, all those guys in the mail order room, they used to have their own little section in the back where it would show some of their showcase models. I mean, it was just really, there was a time where it was pretty neat because those White Dwarfs really encouraged you to change up your models. And then this came out, and I was always a fan of fantasy, and I've said this before, but I was never a fan of the way fantasy played with the blocks. But I loved Mordheim, I loved Skirmish, I loved Advanced Hero Quest, and Hero Quest before that. But Warhammer came out with this little supplement, and it came in a White Dwarf. And this thing was awesome, because it was a Skirmish level. It's a thin book, nothing crazy, but I don't even know what edition this was. But it basically talked about how to, just this wild stuff in there. Just really cool. I mean, make your own terrain. They were showing you how to do. If you guys find this on eBay, I highly recommend picking one up. But people were making their own little goblin war bands and stuff. I mean, just amazing stuff. So in one of the White Dwarfs, after this came out, they did a contest where it was make your own warband. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm totally going to do this. So I got some of my models here. I was going to show them. So I wanted to make a Chaos warband because I always liked Chaos, but I never played Chaos for 40k or fantasy. Later on, I got into Chaos pretty much after this warband. But they did this thing. It was a contest, and I entered it in my local Games Workshop. And everyone would go down and they'd have a little thing. But so here's some of the models. I forgot all the rules. I couldn't find the White Dwarf right off the bat. But so this was the leader guy, and some of you fantasy people will probably know who this is. I know he was a rider. He was a special character. But anyway, he's the Chaos character who rode on like a blood letter, and there's like a Chaos spear or banner pole. There's a Tyranid piece right there. This crazy little tendril coming out of his back. This is the old orc jaw pieces with the little zombie head inside. Pretty cool. There's the back of him with like a... He's actually on the back of a Termagant, or Termagant, however you want to call it. Running, and then I did a scorpion tail. Pretty awesome model. That was super fun to do. Hand sculpted all the tendril-y things, and then I made a Chaos Spawn, which was the original Chaos Spawn body, not the original, but the little round thing. But I didn't like how just boring and plain it was, so I went to town and I put a bunch of like little. It's like a Tyranid head right here. Probably can't see it. That light's not that great, but little orc mouth at the top right there. Just a crazy whippy, couple more heads. Little skeleton head at the bottom. Little skeleton zombie hand. Pretty big model too. Here's a regular Chaos Warrior. So he towers over dudes pretty gnarly like. And then here's a Chaos Warrior I did. Just kind of hacked them up. Same thing, just sort of. I didn't really know anything about the game in terms of fluff, lore, and all that stuff. But yeah, I just kind of went to town. I figured these little demon things were basically busting out of the armor. I'm gonna show you two more, then I'll stop talking. But this guy was pretty rad. So he's got the big old double halberd thingy. I don't know the term. But my favorite part was the eyeball. So if you look at his helmet, he's got... Gray Baby's moving my arm. Stop, Gray Baby. Hold on. There it is. So if you look at his eyeball, it's protruding from his helmet. And it's actually coming out of one of the slits. Right? If you look up close... I don't know if I'll get it, but it's actually got a pupil in it and the whole nine. It came out pretty badass. So, anyhow, I was that guy. And I got some more Chaos Warrior dudes that I did. A little bit different. Here's a skull blowing out of a little mouth inside of a mouth. And then the core troop were the zombie bits. I had these weird poles, and I didn't know what to do with these poles with two hands. And I was like, oh, I got this idea where we have these dudes, and they basically kind of stagger into combat, and they sit there and they spin around and they wind themselves up, right? They'll go do 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 do, and then they'll start to shrink in height. And then when they get close to the enemy, they uncoil, and this thing just spins around super fast, and he like basically hits people. So I did a whole ton of these guys. Got a bunch of them in different. This guy has heads, sort of as like a medicine ball kind of thing, little shrunken heads. But anyhow, yeah. So just crazy, weird, fun stuff. You know, and also conversions just allowed me to kind of make my own world of fantasy, you know, and get outside of the structure of what fantasy was not supposed to be, but what the default fantasy was, and then allowing you to just make it your own, you know. And I mean, to me, that's really what converting is. It's all about putting your own special mark on things. I could never sculpt the stuff that they sculpt. Well, don't say ever, right? Never say never, but just don't have the time right now. But you know, the models, the range, the old stuff, the new stuff, they're all a great starting point to just make what you've always imagined, right? And I mean, nowadays, with the amount of plastic kits that are out there, I mean, even small-time companies are making plastic kits where that was unheard of before, just because they're so expensive to make molds. You know, you could really make, I don't want to say almost anything, but I mean, you really have, I mean, the doors have just been flung open far more than it even was in the early and mid 90s with the options that you had then. But pretty awesome. I mean, all in all, it's for conversions. Let me look at my cheat sheet real quick. Talked about sculpting a little bit. I like to sculpt. It's fun. Orcs and Chaos. Fear to convert. Talked about that a little bit. I didn't really have one because I think my friends supported me, and I was young enough to where I didn't feel awkward about it, you know. So I guess that's it, really. Yeah. So once again, Vince, thank you for doing these. Starting to get me out of my shell. Not that I'm in a shell, but it's more of just a perpetual working life that now I'm making this sort of a commitment. And I don't know if I'll be able to do every week, and sometimes the topic of the weeks aren't really pertaining to me, but the last few have been, definitely. And I do enjoy thinking about them, even if I don't respond to them, or if I just respond via the typing. But yeah, so that's about it. Conversions, I'm all for it, and I'm looking forward. Oh, you know, I had a comment to make. I guess I should do it now because you're probably listening, or you've turned it off. You're just like, that guy's a long-winded drunk. Not tonight, bro. But yeah, stupid work. Gotta get up early. I want to drink. I do, but I'm tired. So your challenge, your hobby challenge, and I'm still gonna say no probably to that because I've got a lot going on in these. Plus storm season's coming, so I'll be busier than ever. We just got out of the heat storm. It's gonna be the winter storm soon. I live on the West Coast, so rain we haven't seen in forever. California's in a horrible drought, but Gray Baby doesn't care. She's like, I got me food and water. I'm happy. But I was gonna say your hobby challenge. I think if I could add my 2 cents, you were talking about, you know, doing the unit and then a monster and doing all these things, and then making sort of a background story to it. My one thought about that was because you talked about doing a unit first, and a unit is pretty intimidating, especially to people who've never done conversions. So, I mean, you're not asking them to do one model, you're asking them to do 8 or 10, right? Or 12 or 16. So, I mean, that's kind of a heavy, scary thing, in my opinion. For painting, that's how I'm looking at it. But converting, I could totally do that. But maybe have them do the leader the first month, because that way they can sort of feel like it's not an overbearing, crazy task. They just have to make one model, and they can try their virgin modeling skills at that, and then from all the positive reinforcement from the PMP and stuff, that would probably get them feeling more confident about attacking a unit of people. Just a thought of mine. Yeah, gray baby. Wah! Just a thought, man. So that's about it. Well, thanks for listening for 25 minutes. That's 25 minutes of your life you will never get back. And I don't give you refunds because I wouldn't know how. So, but you come to the Bay Area, I'll buy you a drink. And Vince, for some reason in one of your videos, you said something about you wish people bought you ice cream, and I still owe you some ice cream or a cookie, or I don't remember what it was. But if you're ever in the San Jose area, hit me up. Do some cookies and ice cream or alcohol and dice rolling. Anyway, all right, man. Well, you guys all have a great night. Thanks for listening and watching. Sorry that I stole that much time from you. Hopefully you got something done, or just sat there and let me ramble while you cleaned your house. So you missed a spot. Yeah. All right. You guys take it easy. Have a good night.